Hello everyone, today we are going to be discussing April 17th Science AMI work. First, write your name at the top of the paper, and then let's read our passage, I just completely forgot the word, on Galileo Galilei. Can you imagine that a man could be arrested for studying the solar system? That happened to Galileo Galilei. Galileo was born in 1564, and he is usually referred to by his first name. He was one of the first true scientists of the Renaissance. This was a period when science, art, music, literature, and learning were having a rebirth in Europe. Galileo knew many of the scientific ideas of the ancient world. However, he believed that scientific ideas must be tested and proven. He believed that ideas unsupported by proof were not enough. Galileo was the first to prove that heavy objects and light objects can fall at the same speed when dropped from the same height. In an experiment, he dropped two balls, one of iron and one of a lighter material, from Italy's Leaning Tower of Pisa. The balls landed at the same time. Galileo was a professor at university in the city. However, many other professors laughed at him for doing this experiment. They shouldn't have, as the experiment led to a mathematical formula that Galileo was able to use to calculate the speed of all falling objects. Galileo also made many studies of the pendulum in terms of its speed and its use in measuring time. He invented the first thermometer and studied how the newly invented telescope was made. He used a telescope of his own making to study the sun and sunspots. He discovered the first 4 moons of Jupiter. He also studied the moon and discovered its many mountains, valleys, and craters. These had not been visible or known to observers in the time before telescopes. Galileo came to believe that the planets orbited around the sun, not around the earth. This idea that the sun was the center of the universe was controversial, and it got him into trouble with the religious leaders of the time. He spent the last 4 years of his life under house arrest for stating this belief. Isn't that insane to think about? That you could be arrested for your beliefs? That's something that America was founded on, that we have the freedom to our own opinions and beliefs. We can study different religions. We can believe that perhaps the earth is flat, which it is not. But if that's your belief, that is okay. You're allowed to have that belief here, and you're not going to be arrested for it. Let's move on to our questions. What did you learn? Number 1, which of the following scientific tools did Galileo personally invent? Which of the following tools? Plural. So there could be more than one. Let's refer back to our passage as we read these. A, the telescope. Okay, did he invent that? Okay. He invented the first thermometer and studied how the newly invented telescope was made. So the newly invented telescope, did he invent it? No, but he did use a telescope of his own making. So he didn't invent the telescope. Did he invent the thermometer? He invented the first thermometer. Yes, he did. But let's keep reading because this does say tools, and we want to see if there's any more in here that he invented. So let's move on to C, pendulum. Okay. Galileo also made many studies of the pendulum in terms of its speed and measuring time. So he did not invent the pendulum. He just studied it. And the telegraph. I don't remember the telegraph. Let's quickly skim for telegraph. No, they didn't even mention the telegraph. So D is incorrect. That means, which of the following scientific tools did Galileo personally invent? The thermometer. 2. Which of the following choices give 2 synonyms for controversial? Controversial. So first of all, if you don't know what controversial means, go back to the passage and let's find where controversial is. So here we go. This idea that the sun was the center of the universe was controversial, and it got him into trouble. So if something is controversial, that must mean it goes against normal opinions in order for it to get him in trouble. So let's look. A, questionable and certain. How can something both be certain and questionable? Let's mark that out. B, disputed and unquestionable. So it's unquestionable. You can't question it, yet you can somehow dispute it. No, B. Questionable and disputed. Controversial. I like C so far. Let's move on. D. Certain and unquestionable. Again, that doesn't make sense because controversial is going against. It is questioning. He's saying that maybe the planets don't orbit the Earth. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the Earth and all the planets orbit the sun. So we are going to go with B, controversial. You could also use questionable and disputed. So let's input those words into the sentence and see if they make sense. This idea that the sun was the center of the universe was questionable, and it got him into trouble with the religious leaders. Okay. This idea that the sun was the center of the universe was disputed. I like those. We're going to go with C. 3. Where did Galileo perform his famous experiment on the speed of falling objects? We have A, Pisa, B, Jupiter, C, Italy, and D, both A and C. These questions can be kind of tricky when you have an option that is both. So, and you can even get more so than that. You can have then E, which is C and B, or F, none of the above. But let's check. All right. Galileo was the first to prove that heavy objects and light objects can fall at the same speed. In an experiment, he dropped 2 balls from Italy's Leaning Tower of Pisa. So, was it at Pisa? Yes. Was it in Jupiter? No, we still haven't been to Jupiter human selves. We've sent like robots to take pictures and things. Actually, I don't even think we've had a robot land on Jupiter, but we've had satellites take pictures. C, Italy? Yeah, it's Italy's Leaning Tower, which is in Pisa, a city in Italy. So that means D. Both A and C are correct. Which belief did Galileo oppose? A. The planets rotate around the Earth, which is the center of the universe. Yeah, that sounds correct. B. The planets orbit the sun. C. Heavy objects fall at the same speed as lighter objects. D. Both A and C. Okay, this one's a little tricky. And you heard me make a noise because I had to remind myself, what is the question? What he believes, or what belief did Galileo oppose? What is he arguing against? Is Galileo arguing that the planets don't rotate around the Earth, which is the center of the universe? No. He's saying that his idea that the sun was the center of the universe was controversial. So we know that it's not A because he didn't oppose this belief. He agreed with it. B, the planets orbit the sun. Yeah, this common belief. Oh, wait. I got that completely backwards. My bad. Let's just restart that. That was a mess. This is why our pencils have erasers and why computers can undo. What belief did Galileo oppose? A, the planets rotate around the Earth, which is the center of the universe. Yes, he opposed that belief. He said that the planets orbit the sun, which was controversial. Let's reread that. This idea that the sun was the center of the universe was controversial. Okay, so A, yes, he did oppose that common belief at the time. B, the planets orbit the sun. No, that was his new idea. C, heavy objects fall at the same speed as lighter objects. Again, back up here, Galileo was the first to prove that heavy objects and light objects can fall at the same speed. No, he didn't oppose this. He proved that it was correct. And then D, both A and C. We've marked out C, so we know it can't be option D. That means our answer is A. Galileo opposed the belief that the planets rotate around the Earth. 5. If the objects that Galileo dropped from the Leaning Tower of Pisa and had been different shapes, like a ball and a flat piece of paper, do you think they would have fallen at the same speed? Explain your answer. Before we even begin to think about this, we need to keep in mind our CSRQ, complete sentences, restate the question. Now, if you're unsure about this, think about a piece of paper falling. You can probably hear mine. And you can just kind of let it fall. A piece of paper, much like a leaf falling from the tree, kind of goes back and forth because it's really flat and it hits the air. What about a ball? Have you ever thrown a ball and it floats to the ground, back and forth like a leaf? No, a ball is spherical. It's not as flat, it doesn't have as much surface area, so it doesn't have, therefore, as much air resistance. Let's write our answer. To restate the question, let's think. The question is, do you think they would still have fallen at the same speed? So you can start with, I think that a ball that objects of different shapes would have fallen at different speeds. Because some shapes are more aerodynamic. I don't know how to spell aerodynamic. Aerodynamic than others. If you don't understand the word aerodynamic or you want to use a different one, you could say some shapes have more air resistance than others, or some shapes pick up the air more easily than others, whichever way you like to describe it. And that is all our questions for April 17th Science AMI work on Galileo Galilei.